Hi, I'm Ellie from crystallinks.com. Today is Monday, June 15th, 2026. I noted today that a lot of people had put up different videos and different things having to do with the movie Disclosure. I was really just going to wait and watch it online, but then I got invited to a preview last Thursday before it opened on Friday. So I said, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to see it. And that there's so many takeaways. I've been in the community, the UFO community, for since 1989. Okay, so that's a long time. I've done TV shows on it. I've done blogs. I've done posts. I've written endlessly about it. When you're part of the UFO community, it's usually because you've either had a sighting, or in my case, I was taken when I was 11 years old, and that's all in notes that I'm going to post a link to after I finish what I have to say. Some people loved it, some people disclosure day. Some people loved it, some people didn't. All kinds of comments and criticisms, and that's what makes the world go round. Everybody who goes to see a movie like Disclosure Day is going to come in from their own perspective. If you're someone who has been taken or somehow connected deeply into it, maybe you've worked in the government, maybe you've had personal experiences, or people like that, they're going to come into this movie with one perspective. People who really are just like, oh, are they going to finally disclose the information? Because at this point, in reality, we all know UFOs crashed, not just in Roswell, many different places across the planet. We all know that alien bodies were retrieved. Some say they were deceased. Some say they were taken and experimented on. Some say they came here with an agenda. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it. With this movie, I feel that Spielberg and his writer and whoever was involved in the production, they kind of sort of took snippets from different parts of ufology. Uh, they didn't just, well, they did the main line, the X-Files line. We've got a really nice guy. I have some notes here just so I don't get the names wrong. But we have our everyday hacker who comes along. He's a government employee who's been working for this company. He's a hacker, he's a whistleblower, and he wants to tell the story he feels, and so do many others feel that the world should know what's going on with UFOs. And of course, we've been saying this for years. People get this information disseminated through government, through this source or that source, a little drip, drip, drip at a time. Okay. It's like, do we all have some peripheral knowledge of the UFO experience? And the answer is yes, we do. We know what basically has happened, backstories to what went on, government experiments on humans, all of this, they vary. Some people know, some people think they know, some people have proof. Here's proof of this and that and whatever. Some people, I also am a hypnotherapist, so I have hypnotized many people who have been taken, and their experiences can be very valid. They can be skewed a little bit because of the emotional part of it. It happened a certain way, but then your emotions kick in, your fear, or with some people, it's like, oh, these aliens came and they took me and did this and that, and I felt this feeling of empathy and love for them, and I've heard it all. Let's put it this way: I've heard it all. With this film, okay, when a film like this comes out, the first thing I do is go into the intuitive side of me. I was taken in 1954, okay, as a child at 11 years old. I was programmed not with monster things on my head, no female reproductive things happening to me. I was only a little girl. I was only 11. And, but I've always been connected into that. So even today, if somebody were to ask me something about UFOs or aliens or where it's going or how it happened and why it happened, the answer just comes to me like, is it raining out today, Ellie? It just comes because this information is within me, and I have posted endlessly for the last almost 31 years on Crystal Links all about the UFO community. Okay. There are many researchers in that community who are wonderful. The ancient alien guys, they're great. Okay. Everybody comes in from another perspective. When you are living as a human on planet Earth, it's all about emotions. I feel this, I feel that. Then you go to aliens. The aliens are grays with the big heads and the lenses over the eyes, okay? Big lenses. And I add some pictures onto my file that I will put the link to. But the those are lenses, okay? And beneath them they do have blue eyes. When I had my experience and I was taken, it was not here in Brooklyn where I've spent most of my life, some time in California, but this is basically my roots and where I belong. And I was taken in the desert of Nevada. I mean, for some reason, oh, Nevada, for some reason, my mother took me out of school. She hired a driver and we went to Nevada, and that's what happened to me. And it's like, okay, was I scared? Was I afraid? I was a little girl. It's kind of a cliche thing that I remember. The car stopped in the middle of the desert. We were not far from a military base. I don't know if that had anything to do with anything. I will never have the answer to that one. Uh, we wound up in Sparks, Nevada. Okay, so that's northern Nevada. And whatever happened, it's classic. Taken up in the ship. Whenever something happens to me, I've had an out of body experience, a near death experience. I always see myself sitting next to a little boy who is my age. It would be years later that I realized that that image of the little boy is a comfort thing. Okay. So if you've ever been taken and you saw, oh, I was sitting or whatever next to someone you're familiar with. Now, I didn't know this little boy. He just seems to keep occurring for the one time abducted and the rest, whatever. If I was taken other times when I was a child, I don't remember them. I have always thought I've been hypnotized by the best of the best. Okay. I am obviously involved in the UFO community because of what happened to me and because I have stored knowledge of, I don't know what. I see myself sitting on the bench. Here's the little boy. He's my age. I can still see him with his little khaki jacket and his little polo shirt and his little pants. And I'm just sitting there. He's not crying. I'm not crying. We're not laying down. We're not being examined, nothing like that. But remember something, this could be a screened image because aliens have the ability to get into your mind and create anything. But what I did do know is that we were programmed. I was programmed. Is that little boy a gray? The grays have the ability to shapeshift, as you know, into anything, an animal, a person, somebody you love who's passed, they can shapeshift. So that's it. They can also just be in front of you and look in your eyes and allow you to believe that they are somebody who they are not. My memory is a man in robes, a woman in robes, very spiritual, and I'm not religious at all, but I remember it that way because it's comforting. I know I was programmed, not with the things on the head and the whole thing. It kind of the closest thing I've ever seen to how I was programming is in a movie called The Great Flood that came out about a year ago. And the woman, when she remembers that we live in a simulation, she goes into some sort of room and there's a core, like a liquid yellow core. You'd have to go back and see that. And that programs her. And that's what I've always remembered. And then I came back and I was told that at this age and that age, all the things that would happen to me, most of it made no sense to an 11-year-old little girl coming out of Brooklyn. So it was like, okay. And so my life evolved that way, but I have always been part of whatever this knowledge base is. Now let's get to what happens. So here's your basic X-File scenario. Okay, you got your nice, smart, savvy guy. In this case, I don't know if I left the name out here. David, I believe his name is. David is a key name in many different venues, but he finds out the truth. He's a whistleblower. He steals some information, and then off he goes to, and he's working with Coleman Domingo, I think his name is, and they're going to reveal this because everybody believes, and it's true, it is true, humanity needs to know who we are, why we're here. It's the eternal questions. What is the ET thing? None of us are from Earth. We're not from Earth. We were created by, okay, a God? No, I don't believe that. But I believe we live in a simulated reality, and that is what creates everything that we see and do and know and believe. Now, the thing about exposing that crashed UFOs did result in aliens, and there are and were, not anymore, alien abductions. Humans over and over again, and believe me, I've met a lot of them. Some of them are a little, out there. You have to take it with a grain of salt and politely say, okay, whatever you believe is what you believe. Doesn't mean I believe it. It's what you believe. That's your reality. But some of them are extremely credible, not because they bring down mathematical codes, not because once you've been taken and you meet somebody else who has been legitimately taken and they don't drink and they don't drug and they're not out there as so many people are, they're just people, okay, who have had experiences. And once you either hypnotize them or you work with them, you come to feel this affinity and a connection. So this movie came out Disclosure Day. Now, did I feel that the actual information that's been concealed, they say going back 80 years to Roswell, 1947, do I feel that'll ever come out? I think that has been so redacted and so convoluted and so changed around, like playing telephone. By the time the last person gets the message, it's all been it's been altered. Okay. It's just not what really happened. Do I believe that a UFO crashed? They crashed all over the planet. I mean, we were led to believe just Roswell's way beyond Roswell. Were aliens captured? Was their technology used to reverse engineering? Well, that makes sense because let's look at what's happened since World War II. And it goes back to the Foo Fighters in World War II, but that's another blog. It's what's happened is people are programmed to wake up at this time to understand what is really going on. Now, you've got a lot of people who say movies about aliens as gods or creators or whatever, okay, goes against religion. And everything that I have learned from people I've spoken to is like, if the truth came out, okay, people don't care that governments have been covering things up. They do care that the governments may and probably had agreements with aliens in exchange for the technology to kidnap and torture, I don't know, just program whatever you want to say, humans, okay? Because what was the agenda? Okay, it's called the human experiment. The agenda was the aliens with the big heads and the big eyes are supposedly all intellect. They are actually artificial intelligence. They are not, they may be sentient in some way, but we already know that a lot of artificial intelligence we're dealing with will at some point become sentient. But okay, that is what it is. So now we get to this movie. Okay, in Disclosure Day, we know that they are not going to bring the actual documents. And as I just said, the actual documents are not going to bring the information that most of us already know. The average person will say, yeah, there was some crash and some aliens were captured and blah, blah, blah. This is everyday knowledge. There's nothing new. Cover ups, who covered up? Was it Truman? Was it Eisenhower? Was it CIA? None of that matters anymore. It may have been a big deal if it came out in the 60s or the 70s, but now here we are. We are what I believe is the end of the simulation that we live in, okay? And that's when people will start to question, why did this happen starting from the mid 20th century, and it's getting faster and faster and faster. It's coming out more and more now because that's the program. People have to understand who they are, not because that, well, they're not from here, but not because they're created by some aliens or created by some mythological gods. I don't mean to say anything about anybody's religion. Everybody has a right to believe in anything they want about creation. If you want to believe that this is, that we were descended from apes or whatever. You believe whatever you want. I'm not here to change that. I'm just here to give my opinion. Now, with Disclosure Day, you have to know this is a movie. It's not a documentary. There's Lord knows how many documentaries are out there. Little by little by little, the documentaries will say more and more whether Trump is going to bring out the information or, I don't know, committees, government committees, and hearings and all of that. I don't know exactly where it's going to come from, but it's never going to really make a difference. Years ago, before the alien scenario ended and they left, years ago, I used to think if a responsible, respectable alien, okay, were to go in front of the world and say, this is who we are, this is where we're from, blah, 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 detail everything. This is why we took humans. They made hybrids. They wanted our human emotion because humanity is about the study of emotions. It will never be in balance. We will never live in love and light and everything that you read about metaphysics because we're bipolar. It's a physical reality. We're bipolar. So as soon as something good happens, it'll offset by something not so good. Okay. But we will never really achieve this whole love and light concepts that has been through metaphysics. But anyway, getting back to the movie Disclosure Day does not disclose anything you don't really know, and I didn't expect it to. So when I saw everything and I blogged about it here and there and everywhere, I I went into where the place of my knowing, I love the movie Knowing, by the way. I went into my place of knowing and I said, do I need to rush out and see this? And no, the answer is no. Wait till it becomes digital. Okay. But all of a sudden, I got this invitation to come to a preview, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. Why not? So I went. um there's good things and bad things. You're not going to, if you're going in to find out the truth, you're not going to get the truth. If you're going in because I love Emily Blunt, I think she's great. I didn't know that much about the her co-star. I think his name is Josh O'Connor. Nice guy, good performance, but I mean I knew who the most of the cast was, but it I knew I was just going to go there and just enjoy it. And I'm usually not one who could sit through a 2.5 hour movie, but this was it was entertaining. Okay, it really was. Did I learn anything new? I went in knowing that I wasn't going to. What someone like me or other people who have been abducted or part of the UFO community look for when they go to see a movie like Disclosure is something that connects with them on a deeper soul level, because being human is a matter of triggering the truth, triggering the information that, like that aha moment where you're like, oh, wait a minute, now I'm starting to remember. We're all coded with all of the information we'll ever need. You're born with the coding, it's in your DNA, but we get involved in all this emotional stuff. You have to feel, you have to feel. From what I read, Spielberg wanted people to feel empathy in this movie. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. Maybe somebody else did. It's for all I felt was I was sitting through a nice action adventure film. And then okay, so we have the whistleblower and we have Emily Blunt's role. She does the weather in Kansas City. When they said Kansas City, I said to my friend, are they stopping to watch a Chiefs game? Maybe, you never know. That's what rang on my bell for Kansas City. But okay, they picked Kansas City for a reason I'm still not sure. But anyway, um, I didn't emote with it. I didn't feel with it. I didn't think it was teaching me empathy. There is something I learned way back when I started Crystal Links 31 years ago. Okay. And I was putting up the prophecy files and all these. I have like over 10,000 files, and I was putting them up. And there's one thing that is always said in prophecy, which makes no sense. It's like, this is the prophecy. If humans do not get there together, okay, then they're doomed. uh, that makes absolutely no sense. We live in a bipolar physical reality. And when that happens, you're never going to get your together, okay? You can't. It's impossible. So that's like, what do you call it? A catch-22, self-defeating prophecy. But I used to interview all these people from every part of the world. I have some of it on video where they all said, we are from, I don't know, elders or whoever they were, and humanity must get there together. Otherwise, we are doomed. And I used to think to myself, okay, well, in a bipolar reality, that's never going to happen. I'm very practical in New York. But um, so he's looking for empathy. Empathy towards who? Empathy towards the people who are abducted, empathy towards the aliens. The gray aliens are AI. They came here from, we still don't know where, okay? They've been here since the beginning of this part of the simulation, since the beginning of humanity. Okay, they've always been here. You can see on pictographs and on stone how people just depicted these gray aliens coming down and everything they did. That's another topic, but they've always been here. They've always been part of our reality at this particular junction, and we live in a very exciting part of this whole storyline. Look upon it as a whole storyline of humanity. We are at this point about to have information revealed to us. And that's why the aliens crashed. That's part of the plan. The technology was taken. That's part of the plan. Computers and whatnot were designed so that people can understand who we are and why we're here. We are here as what most of us call the human experiment, meaning that we're part of an experiment. Did the Greys or some other alien group, and there are allegedly many alien groups, which I don't believe there are. I believe it's all the Greys with the big heads, and they can manifest themselves as role beings and whoever you want. You want them to be Octurans, you want them to be Andromedans, you want them to be from Sirius. We have to be serious, but you want them to be whoever mythological characters, Egyptian gods. You want whoever you want them to be. They have the ability to project that or change their own energy. It's true. Okay, because actually I've done that, and I have that picture of me on the file that I'll link below, where I can actually, I go back, my whole storyline goes back to ancient Sumer, that's Mesopotamia. You can look that up, and a group called the Anunnaki, who were the teachers. The Anunnaki, those who came from the sky, depending on your frame of reference. I have worked with classes and workshops where I actually can change and morph into an actual Anunnaki, the eyes, the whole, not the big head. Okay, so that's another story. But anyway, I'm very linked into this. Now, in 2007, I was sitting here reading a client, a guy named Mike, who had been taken, he said, for, uh, I don't know, since childhood, I believe he said. And all of a sudden, he said, how can I make them stop? And I said, I don't know. They will stop when they're done. And I heard very clearly in my little plug into the switchboard thing to them, I heard very clearly the experiments on humans have ended. We are leaving. And I just looked over at Mike, okay, and I said, don't ask me how I know, but you will never be taken again or abducted or whatever word you use. And he never has been. He really has been. And he also passed from cancer, which may have been his natural destiny, or it could have been something that happened to him on a UFO that caused him to die at, I think he was age 50 when he passed. Um, Another story. Every story leads into many different branches. But anyway, I have known since 2007 that the ships that are here are drones, okay? You are not going to capture a ship, and they outsmart us. They are so much smarter than us. I call us the dumbed down experiment because we're only supposed to connect with our emotions. I feel love. I feel this. I feel that. What about this? Okay. Okay. So it's We are here as an experiment that is coming to its end. And if you watch anything about simulation theory, anything about simulations, the math of it, the science of it, the pseudoscience of it, all of it, okay? You feel it inside. Most people feel inside, they don't know when or how or who, but they feel that there is a closure, as in disclosure, there is a closure coming to something. Um, and that everything that's going on in today's world, our opening, our awareness, our perceptions of reality, they're all leading us down this path. When I see the simulation, and I have the link to simulation theory, but when I see the simulation, I know that, and I blog that watch the climate change and the natural disasters because physical reality, the planet, it's based on plate tectonics, which takes you to your earthquakes, your climate changes, volcanoes. It's all accelerating. There's no, I used to tell people, please be careful. Never tell me with climate change that it won't happen in your neighborhood. Or, oh my God, we had this horrible hurricane. Won't be back for another 10 or 20 years. No, it's a spiral and it's going back to zero and it's going to happen faster, like the snowball coming down the hill. It's going to happen faster and faster and faster. I know I'm doing it this way for me because it's reversed. For you, you probably see it backwards. But all of this is everything is part of something else. Now, what I got out of Spielberg's Disclosure Day is a fun afternoon with a nice friend, and I really enjoyed what I was seeing. But you do realize also that everything is redundant. There is no new storylines left in our reality, that one out there, or even like on TV. They're recycling. Everything is recycling because we're almost done with the simulation. What happens to the simulation? Spielberg couldn't have done it better. It fades to black. It does. It really does. Now, just I don't want to forget to say this, that the UFOs that people see, they photograph, and there's more and more and more, these were left behind by whatever race you want to call these grays. You can call them Zedi, you can call them anything you want. It doesn't really matter. The Zeta Reticulum, I think they call it, or the Orion Grays. It doesn't really matter what they're called. When they left these some of them are just projections, or some of them are drones. Okay, they go in and out of water, they disappear, they fly fast, they unite with others, they form bigger motherships. I don't know. I half the time I think they're just playing. When I plug into them, they're just having a good time. They are unmanned. They have nothing to do with anything. They are monitoring planet Earth to what end, you may add, because we have a destiny when planet Earth fades to black, this whole universal experiment ends and fades to black. We have a destiny for that. And they want to make sure that we do not blow ourselves up before that. So you see things like UFOs were seen over nuclear facilities, okay? You see them in wartime. I remember, I think when the Ukraine war started, people were seeing UFOs all over. They are here to monitor and balance. That's it. They're drones. That's really what they are. Can they be shot down? People have tried, you can't shoot them down. They're here for a purpose because if we don't go to that zero, I call it reverse Fibonacci. If it doesn't go to that 0 point, okay, then we got to come back and do it all over again. And that's the last thing we want. We do not want Groundhog Day. And believe me, I remember the soap, we have been here before. It's happened before. We're recycling, we're doing it again. And with those who understand, I'm not the only one who gets this. There are many people out there, some I know and some I don't know. There's millions of readers to my website, Crystal Links, and some people get it, some people don't. Some people think they do, then they get scared. And whatever. Okay. It doesn't, nothing is important. It's just be a watcher. Look at life from the outside in. Where is it all going? So storylines are constantly humanity is based on an algorithms that repeat, they repeat. The gods came down. We go to the beginning, the gods came down. Some landed in the water, some landed on land, some wherever they went. They created a race called humans. They said sayonara, goodbye, have a good life, and we'll be back, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, if you're waiting for a God, if you're waiting for aliens, if you're waiting for anybody to come back, they are not coming back. Okay, so don't believe that. With the whole God concept, I believe everybody has to believe whatever they want in a God that's an energy source and a religious, mythological being, whatever, an alien, whatever you believe. But they're not really protecting us because I always cite this as the one thing I say about those kind of alien protector, watcher gods is that if they're here to watch and protect us, why is life so mean and cruel to a majority of people who are in the simulation? Why can't the good people, like, or people who are terrible people, went to jail, horrible things they did, and they come out, their reform. Why can't they live in a life that's peaceful and balanced, not with millions of dollars, just a nice, comfortable life? Because that's not the programming. That is not the algorithm of the human experiment. Okay. It'll always have dramas. It'll always have things that go wrong. But now we get back to Spielberg's movie repeats a lot of things. If you haven't seen it, then I'm doing spoilers. He puts a crop circle in, which I thought was a very cute touch. He showed the crop circle actually manifesting, okay, around that guy David. He's standing in a field, hiding in a field. And what he showed is something that AI has brought out about crop circles, is they're not necessarily created from above. Forget the human ones. There's tons of human ones. But the real ones with the messages, they're not so much created by balls of light, orbs of light. Those crop circles come from below the ground. They have been sitting there so, like forever. But remember, in a simulation, anything can manifest. So why not? But those crop circles, it showed it. It's just like all of a sudden it just came. I was trying to identify the crop circle because I'm familiar with most of them. I've been in some, but I couldn't. It just went too fast. It just happened. He's just standing there looking like, what's that? And he should know what that is. If he's involved in the UFO community, everybody knows, but it doesn't really matter. So here we have the woman has been taken as a child at 10, and I try to identify that when she was talking about it, but I did not have an experience anything like hers. My soul did not say nope, because I was 11. Nope, 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 nothing, no connection to that. But she was taken by grays who have morphed into friendly little animal shapes, okay? And the guy who now has all these secrets, she starts to talk in what's called clicks. Okay, a lot of people believe that the aliens do speak in a mathematical click language because why is everything mathematical? Because we live in an algorithm. It's an algorithm. It just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating in different patterns. This pantheon of gods came, same story as this one and that one and our religion. It's all recycled. We are recycling to the end. But so now she starts doing this. I can't do it. I don't know, this clicky sound, which was, I thought it was very fun and very cool. And he is allegedly the only one who can decipher what it is. And then through a series of chase scenes and bad guys and good guys and everything, they meet up. Of course, they both have partners who think the whole thing is ridiculous. They think their partners are crazy. Emily's boyfriend, who was played by Wyatt, I forget his last name, but his father was in Independence Day. So I thought that was very, very cool that his father did it. You probably are knowing the name, but I just can't think of it. I'll think of it. But anyway, his father was in a classic movie. Okay, so these characters have partners, okay? Emily's character, Margaret, her boyfriend thinks she's nuts. Okay. Like he's trying to get her help in a hospital and blah, blah, blah. And she runs away. And then David, the whistleblower, his girlfriend, a whole bunch of stuff happens to her. So she's a lot more open to what's going on. Okay. So but anyway, for some reason, I thought that when Margaret and David met, okay, I'm not talking love and romance and all of that, but that would have been fun. But when they met finally on the run, when they meet, I wanted to feel some connection on a soul level between them. Yes, there's a connection of we're running away, we're going to expose all this information, it's time and all the technical stuff, but I wanted to feel maybe it was the chemistry of the actors, that could be. I didn't feel that. I really didn't feel much of anything, just a fun adventure. But I thought it's like when Mulder met Scully, it was this instant, like we have a shared destiny, that the universe has brought us to this point today, going back to the first story with them, you know, the universe has brought us together for a purpose. And you could feel it. He recognized it. She didn't. That's okay. But you felt the shared connection. I didn't feel that in the movie. So that part, I was a little bit let down. Um, so let's see what else that I thought and didn't think about the movie. I mean, is it okay? My son-in-law is the first one who asked me. He said, do you think this is a Spielberg classic? And I know it's going to make money. It's going to be everything he does is a blockbuster, but no. If you want to see the best of Spielberg, and I blogged about it, I've talked about it, go to YouTube and look up Steven Spielberg Presents Taken. At the time it came out on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2002. My daughter just happened to be working there and she was part of selling the project. It was very, very, a lot of synchronicity, so many in my life, I can't even tell you. But that is the best of Aliens and Spielberg. If you want to know storylines with love, with romance, with children, he always puts children, gotta have children. Anyway, because children are the emotional body, just a little side note. But that is the best. The others, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, that was good. I just think of the mashed potatoes with that one and building something out of mashed potatoes. That was really good. And the music tones, that was a good one. And then there's E.T., of course, E.T. Phone Home, that was really among his best. He's done others. He's been involved in other projects of an extraterrestrial nature. But this one, to me, it's like, I'm going to be honest, I waited till today, a few days later, giving people the whole weekend to see the film. And if you have seen it, I'll put a little thing. If you haven't seen it, then this is spoilers, okay? But okay, so now that they finally got the information, okay, the whistleblower, they're getting away from all the bad guys, and they go back into Emily Blunt, Margaret's studio, where she's a weather person, and he's the tech guy. He's going to go and we're going to show it to the whole world. And that's been done before, recycled, but that's exactly what they do. There is one thing, if you haven't seen it, don't listen to this, but there's one thing that makes us different. At the end, okay, they, this big white giant truck backs up into this, near the studio entrance, and they take something out and they wheel it into the room, where they're recording the show, and out comes this gray alien, tall, 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 tall. And most of us think of the grays as 4 feet, 4 fingers, 4 feet, whatever. There are tall ones. They're not all 4 feet tall. There are some tall ones, and I've met them, and they've come to my classes, and people have seen them. So I know what I'm talking about on that. But there are some really tall aliens. This one comes out now. He is allegedly part of being kidnapped and abused by humans going back 80 years. So we're talking Roswell, okay? Because next year Roswell will be 80 years old. So, okay, so he's there and he just walks over to Margaret and Daniel, I think his name is Daniel, not David. I keep calling him David. He walks over to Margaret and Daniel and he whispers something with the clicks, you know, and the next thing you know, Daniel gets the message. Daniel relates the message to Margaret. Margaret walks over in front of the camera so she can say what she has to say. And while all these screens around the studio, and you see them in all parts of the world, everywhere in the world, even if it's on your cell phone, but while they're looking at all these screens, she just says one word, listen. Okay. And then all the screens are depicting UFOs and things like that. And it's kind of cute. I mean, I thought it was an interesting touch. The alien in that one reminded me, if you're an SG-1 fan, remember Daniel Jackson? And the rest of the crew and those aliens. I don't remember their names. That show's been off for a while, but it was your typical gray. Remember that they have blue eyes underneath. I've been over all of these lessons, in Crystal Links, but these, so the basic line is the message is listen. Um, Now, I read somewhere, I'm just going to quote this. It is implied that Margaret and Daniel or David or whatever his name is um, could then serve as representatives for alien species. No, the aliens are done. That whole part of the whole thing, delete. No, no, hit the delete button. Um, Aliens are gone. If you know anyone, people have seen ships. People have also said, but Ellie, I've telepathically connected with aliens. They're just connecting into the grids that create the illusion of this reality. They're not really connecting with aliens. It's just a switchboard effect. Another story for another day. So, we go to the old, if humanity doesn't get themselves together, then all of this is going to happen. Um, Look, you can see it if you want to have a fun adventure. If you know nothing much except peripheral knowledge about aliens and ET, you might learn a few things, okay? Are you going to learn how far back alien cover-ups go? They go back to the mid um, 20th century. But that's not to say that people have not reported sightings throughout history, because that's the case. There's so much I could say about this. I'm just looking at a few little notes, okay? I guess I've said as much as I can say about all of this. I hope this has been helpful. I know that these theories lead to questions, which leads to more questions, but that's what we do. As a race, we're supposed to question everything. What I'm annoyed about with the simulation, how it created us at this level, is we are part of an experiment in emotions, okay? So when I look and I see people like movies with this sitting and crying through the whole movie, I'm like, I don't want to go to a movie where I'm crying through a movie or seeing somebody tortured or things like that. That's not for me. But of course, that's not my experience in life. Okay. I don't have mental illness. I never drank. I never drug. I don't have any of those things wrong with me. And I'm 83, if I may add. But look, it is what it is. You can read about it. I'll put the link. You can read about it on Crystal Links. You certainly can wait to see it. It'll eventually, I suppose, come to like even Amazon to rent or buy. Well, whether it'll be free on Netflix or some of the other stations, Peacock, some of those. I don't know. Different people have said different things. You can wait and watch it at home. You can go to a theater. You can say it was stupid. You could say whatever you want to say. My fun part, to end off, my fun part about this, when I was leaving the theater with my friend, there was a couple about, I'd say they were in my age group, sitting behind us. And, we all walked out together. And I said, well, what did you think of the movie? And they both said, yeah, it was very interesting. I said, are you believers? Oh, yeah, yeah, they believe. This was a white couple. I don't know what nationality or religion, doesn't matter. None of that matters. But they said, and I said, what would you think if I told you that I was taken when I was a child? And they both looked like they were very taken aback by this, you know. They were like, they didn't know what to make of that because obviously they'd never met anyone who was taken. Most people haven't. But it was just seeing their reaction after all of this, you know. And that's it. So look, my life was set up for me when I was 11 years old. Okay. This is what happened to me. This is how it unfolded. At the first 40 years of my life, I was a very normal, mainstream student and daughter and mommy and wife, all that stuff. And then at 40, which is exactly what was told to me, everything changed. Um, there's a lot on Crystal Links about my adventures, endless. I mean, 31 years of blogging and files and all of that. I have science there, pseudoscience, and I have my book. I mean, it's not in print anymore. It's called Sarah and Alexander, The Alchemy of Time. It's on Amazon. I have the screenplay. And after I wrote the screenplay, which was years ago, believe it or not, two people came into my life, one who was connected to Spielberg's readers and the other one to Roland Emmerich's readers. And those are the two people who I thought would want to do this is a bloodline story, and I thought they would want to do it. But according to the readers, and rightly so, they said my writing wasn't professional enough. Hello, first attempt, you know, but it's okay. I believe what's meant to be is meant to be. And just the fact that they got as far as their readers was like to me, oh my God, OMG. And I've had people, professionals, look at it. But when you have a project like Sarah and Alexander and professionals come along, what I learned, if you're writing a project, you know, people out there listening, if you're writing a book or you want to convert it into something visual, I'm a visual learner, I like the visual. If you want to convert it, what they do is they say, we will rewrite it into a script. We will take your script, we will rewrite it. We want X amount of dollars, depending how professional they are. And if you don't like the finished product, we keep it and sayonara. This is what I was told. And I had an agent at that time. And I was like, no, I'm going to pass. I'm not going to spend money on this. It made no sense to me. So this is where that project's at, but I have no problems with that either. I don't have projects with anything. I just know in my life and what I see going on in the world, and we all know it's a crazy and getting crazier world. Everybody, just clients, friends, neighbors, everyone just says to me, everyone's going crazy today. I mean, they really are. Hey, it is what it is, you know? I mean, now at least one thing that's good that wasn't true when I became a psychic reader in the 1980s is that people understand the emotional package connected to most humans. You know, that they do have issues, they do have things going on, and they are programmed that way. All right, we'll pick this up another time. Anyway, I thank you very much for listening and to be continued. Thank you.